Hello everybody, this is a bit of a different video than what I normally do. Despite that, I figured I might as well make it. So, without further ado, here's how I multi-tune each boss cog, minus field offices because I haven't multi-tuned one yet. I'll get to it eventually, probably. I'll preface this by saying I've only multi-tuned boss cogs with 2 tunes at a time, so these may fall apart if you have more tunes with you. However, worst case scenario, you can have a couple tunes sit in the corner. Other people may not like it, but you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. This entire guide also assumes that you have a multi-controller that allows for you to control both tunes in perfect sync, or with different controls but still simultaneously. I will leave a link in the description for the multi-controller I use, which has both of these assumed functions. Anyways, first up, the VP. The first battle is pretty easy, and like any other battle you do, but with an XP multiplier. The cogs will be levels 1 to 12, so just use your best strategies based on what cogs you encounter. If your tunes end up on different sides, try your best to time the turns on both sides so you're not trying to pick gags for 2 battles at a time. It relieves a bit of stress, but you won't get a break during any battle animations. And for the second battle, it's basically the same as the first battle, but the cogs are levels 8 through 12, and you're probably only going to be using sound here. Again, just strategize, there's not much to it. And then for the Pie Round. So, you have a few options, but first, there are a couple of important keybinds you should have on your multi-controller. First of all, a pie throwing keybind. I set my tunes to throw at the same time with E, but you may choose to have them throw at different times or with different keys. What matters is they can throw pies. Next off, you need a keybind for both tunes to jump at the exact same time. This is because of the VP's jump attack. My keybind for both tunes jumping at once is the spacebar. Okay, now for the different options that you have for the Pie Round. The first option, and probably the easiest, is to just have your tunes in front of the VP and mass throw pies at the same time while he's stunned. This takes very little effort, and I usually find myself barely even paying attention when I do this. That being said, if you have little experience with multi-tuning, you might still find this a bit difficult. The second option is to have your tunes back stunning. I'd recommend giving them the small tune cheesy effect because it makes back stunning easier, but it's not required. This obviously works best if you have 2 or 3 tunes you're controlling. The last option is to split your tunes between front and back stunning. I'd absolutely recommend giving them their own pie throwing keybinds if you choose this option, and it's probably the most difficult of all of them. Don't let that discourage you from trying it out though. Some things will be easier for you than they will for me. And now, the CFO. The battle is honestly just as straightforward as the first battle of the VP. Levels 1 through 12, strategize, you'll be fine. It just takes a while to get through this battle, but take your time. During the Crane Round, you have a couple options again. Your first option is to have all your tunes goon stomping. This is the only way I've multi-tuned a CFO, and I think it's probably the easiest, but I will note that I'm biased because I really hate craning. If you have 2 or 4 tunes, this works even better in your favor. Have one tune stand at the far corners of the room by each craner on the same side of the CFO. Now they can literally watch each other's backs and you'll be able to see where every goon is on that side. The second option is to have all tunes craning. I have no experience or advice if you choose to do this, so good luck if you do. The third option is to have some tunes goon stomp and others crane. While I haven't tried this before, I imagine that it'd probably be easier if you had your goon stompers watch over your craners. Remember though that it's always valid to have a couple tunes sitting in the corner if you're overwhelmed or you physically can't control all of them. And next up, the CJ. So for the battle, again it's very straightforward. You deal with levels 8 through 12 and have a battle around the same length as the CFO. Take your time, you'll get through it. And for the cannon round, take your practice shots. As many as you need until your aim is perfect on every single one of your tunes. Then you want to raise the cannons because the game will automatically drag them down, and your hope is that you'll be able to fire all of them at 21 or 22 seconds and have all of them hit a jury seat. I personally recommend firing all cannons at once and aiming simultaneously with your tunes, but you might find it easier for you to aim and fire individually, but that's based on your preference. There's no right or wrong answer. For the evidence round, I would not really recommend stunning while you're multi-tuning unless you have exactly 2 tunes, or 3 or 4 if there's more cogs due to a higher average suit level. If you do stun with extra tunes, you're on your own to figure out how to make that work. I don't really have any advice. I recommend keeping all your tunes together and spam throwing your evidence into the scale. Once all tunes have run out of evidence, then refill your evidence. I don't personally recommend staggering getting refills, but you might think differently based on your own playstyle. And now, last but not least, the CEO. For once, I actually have some more advice for the first fight. I find it easier to take out all the version 2.0 cogs and then use sound, rinse and repeat. However, at the time I'm posting this video, it doesn't seem like there's much of a set-in-stone meta to replace the one fog rule, so just do whatever floats your boat. And then for the feeding round. Prepare to get turned around if you're anything like me. But don't worry, just keep moving and trying to feed the cogs. I recommend keeping all your tunes close together and feeding cogs at the same table each time. If not the same table, then nearby tables. Wait until all tunes have fed a cog to get more food at the conveyor belts. The feeding round is probably the best time to have the extra tunes sitting out until you're only controlling 1 or 2 tunes. Just make sure you warn or ask everybody first because you'll be fighting those extra cogs you're not feeding. And then for the second battle, the first move of the second fight should always be a fire, whether it's from you or somebody else, unless nobody has fires. If not, you just have to fight a level 12 version 2.0 plus whatever extra cogs that are left, no big deal. And then the CEO round. There's a couple of keybinds that you absolutely need, one of which is going to save all your tunes' lives and the other one is just going to be for convenience. The most important one is having a keybind for leaving golf, or the tables depending on where your tunes are. Preferably, you would have one for each individual tune as well as having one that has them all leave at the same time, but I get around just fine with only a single simultaneous keybind. The next one that you need is so that way your tune's actions, whether it's seltzer bottles or golfing, can be done independent of each other. My keybinds are Z and insert, which you can only use the insert if you turn off your numlock key. But I also found, since the normal key from the game is spacebar, that my jump keybinds of shift and control also work. Honestly, I just swap between those keys during the fight based on which one is more easily accessible to me at that time. And that's really everything that I have to say. I hope you find this advice helpful if you're going to be multi-tuning any boss cogs. However, any method that I come up with is not a one-size-fits-all. All my suggestions might not work for you, and you may find something entirely different to be way easier for you. In the end, just experiment until something works. And that's all I got for this video, so bye!